is a Roll to Hit Gaming First Look. In this video, we begin our three-part game showcase. The first look covers components, rules, and setup. It is designed to give you a quick introduction to a game you might have interest in. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. Let's head into the game room for your Roll to Hit Gaming First Look host.
Welcome back. I'm Lucas from Roll to Hit Gaming, and today we're going to take a look at Spellcaster, as well as its new expansion, Spellcaster Potions. In Spellcaster, a 2 to 4 player card game published by R&R Games and designed by Aaron Weisblum and Norman Woods, players take on the roles of rival mages battling for supremacy. Let's take a look. As you open the box, first you will find these 4 colored placards. These placards will make up the playing area for your game of Spellcaster. As you play your spells, you will place them on the placard that matches their color. Red cards will be played on the red placard, blue on the blue, and so on. Next, there are 60 plastic crystals. The blue are sorcery sapphires. These are your victory points. To win the game, you need to collect 15 sorcery sapphires. The gold are your energy crystals. These represent your magical energy. If you run out of, or your opponent drains you of all your energy crystals, you are defeated. Now let's look at the cards in the game. We'll start with the red spells. These are combat-oriented spells. In most cases, they will drain your opponent's energy. First we have the Shadow Sword, which drains 2 energy. We also have Hand of the Djinn, which drains 2 energy unless the rival opponent gives you 1 sapphire. There's Firebolt, drain 1 energy for each card in your rival's hand. Tiger's Paw, drain 1 energy. Lightning Strike, drain 3 energy if you have less energy than your rival. And Acid Storm, drain up to 4 energy, lose 1 sapphire for each. Those are 6 of the 15 red cards. Now let's look at the yellow cards. Yellow cards are healing spells, which you will usually use to restore your own energy. First we've got Word of Guidance, gain 2 energy if you have less energy than your rival. We also have Earthblood, gain up to 5 energy, discard 1 card for each. We've got Life Water, gain 2 energy. Seraphim of Light, gain 1 energy or 4 energy if you discard a yellow card. Revive, gain 1 energy and 1 sapphire. Repel Curse, gain 2 energy and your rival gains a sapphire, as well as 9 other yellow healing cards. Now let's look at the blue sorcery spells. These usually allow you to collect sapphires. For example, Goblin's Bite, gain 4 sapphires unless your rival loses 2 energy. And the Crystal Fountain, gain 4 sapphires if you control only blue. There's Djinn's Door, gain 1 sapphire, or 3 sapphires if you discard 1 card. Spirit Portal, gain 1 sapphire and gain 1 energy. Sapphire Storm, lose up to 5 energy, gain 1 sapphire for each. Eye of the Sapphire, gain 1 sapphire or 3 sapphire if you have fewer than 5 sapphires. Then there are 9 other sorcery cards. Now let's look at the green cards. Green cards are conjuring spells, which usually allow you to alter other cards and bend the rules of the game. Runestone lets you draw 2 cards, where Fatigue has you choose 1. Each mage loses 2 energy, 2 sapphire, or 2 cards. Mind Fog lets you draw 3 cards, then discard 2. Fumble Tongue lets you gain an energy, drain an energy, and gain a sapphire. Dream Cloak lets you use a card controlled by a rival. Witch's Brew allows you to draw a card. And as with all the other colors, there are 9 other conjuring spells. Now let's go inside the Potions expansion box. The first thing we find are these 12 potion bottles. These essentially add a 3rd currency to the game in addition to the yellow energy crystals and the blue sapphires. These potion bottles come in 2 parts, the bottle and the cork topper. There's no reason in the game to keep them separate, so we put them together so that we wouldn't lose the pieces. Let's look at one of them up close. And you can see It's a pretty cool little thing here. And now let's look at the cards. In the Potions expansion box, there are 20 new spell cards, 5 for each color. Let's take a look at just a few of them. Phantom's Rage allows us to sap 1 energy, or pay 3 potions to sap 5 energy. Wraith's Touch lets us sap 1 energy and gain 1 potion. Astral Trap, steal 1 potion from a rival. Lockpick, gain 2 potions. Dragon's Spirit, gain 1 energy and 1 potion. Vampire's Bite, gain 1 energy plus 2 for each potion you spend. Sorcerer's Chest, gain 1 sapphire for each potion rival owns. And Pickpocket, gain 1 sapphire and 1 potion. And then there are 12 more cards in the expansion. As you can see, each card from the Potions expansion deals specifically with stealing, owning, or your rival having potions. And that's all there is to the expansion. Let's set this up and I'll come back and show you how to play Spellcaster with the Potions expansion. Now let's set up for a game of Spellcaster. We're going to set up the table today for a 2-player game, though the game does have rules for 3 and 4 players, which we'll touch upon briefly. Note that the Spellcaster playmat's not included in the game. My wife picked this up a couple years ago at BGG Con as a separate purchase. Start by placing the 4 colored placards in the center of the table between the 2 players. These placards are where you will play your cards as the game proceeds. We'll be using the Potions expansion, so we've randomly removed 5 cards from each of the 4 colored stacks of cards and added the 20 new cards from the expansion into their respective stack, shuffled them up, and formed a draw deck. Place it near the play area in reach of both players. Give each player 10 energy crystals, 2 sapphires, and 2 potions to begin the game. Place any remaining pieces in a common supply area near the board in the reach of both players. Start off by dealing 3 cards to each player. The rules state that the player with the longest beard goes first. In the case of no players having a beard, you're begrudgingly permitted to randomly determine the start player. Let's look at the rules of the game. On your turn, you look for any active spells. These are spells with passive abilities that automatically trigger at the beginning of your turn. We'll look at that closer in a few minutes. Then draw 1 card from the draw deck. You can now take 2 actions from the following choices. Draw another card, play a card from your hand to the table. Note, play the card facing you, which indicates that you control that color. In general, mages control and can only use cards facing them. Or you can activate a card that is facing you. Note, you cannot use an action to activate the same card twice in a turn. Once you've completed your 2 actions, play passes to the other player. Let's go through a couple turns and look a little closer. Understand that we won't be able to look at every rule, we just want to give you a feel for how the game plays. At the start of a player's turn, they'll check for any active spells. Since we don't have any spells in play yet, at this time, this wouldn't apply. Then, player draws 1 card. We'll begin by playing an incantation spell. Note the red gear icon at the bottom of the card. This means that it's an active spell. At the beginning of your turn, passive abilities on active spells automatically trigger. We'll play it onto the colored placard, matching its color with the card text facing us, indicating that we control that card. We'll also play a normal spell onto the blue, Philosopher's Stone. Now, when you play a card, it does not activate unless you also use an action to activate that card. On this turn, player 1 has chosen not to do so and instead played 2 cards. That's 2 actions, so play proceeds to the next player. Player 2 checks for active spells. There are none that they control, so they move on to draw a card. Player 2 wishes to cover up player 1's ability to activate his Philosopher's Stone next turn, so they'll play a card on top of it, taking control of blue, indicated by the fact that that card now faces player 2. Player 2 will use their second action to activate Spirit Portal to gain 1 sapphire and 1 energy. That's 2 actions. Play proceeds to the next player. Player 1 now checks for active spells, and Dazzling Aura is facing him with an active spell icon. So automatically at the beginning of his turn, that spell's effect would trigger. Gain 3 energy unless rival pays 1 potion. Player 2 does have a potion to pay, and they'll decide to do that to prevent Player 1 from gaining 3 energy. When you pay or lose potions or crystals, they're returned to the supply unless otherwise stated. Having resolved active spells, Player 1 draws a card. Player 1 has 2 actions and chooses to use the first to activate Dazzling Aura. Note that you can't activate the same spell twice in a turn. However, your automatic activation, because it's an active spell, does not count against this limit. Again, this will force Player 2 to either sacrifice a potion or I will gain 3 energy. Player 2 only has 1 potion left, and they choose not to pay it to prevent me from gaining 3 energy. For Player 1's second action, they'll play Lockpick onto the board, indicating that they now control green. Player 2 begins by checking for active spells. Since they don't have any active spells, they proceed to draw a card. Player 2 will play Eye of the Djinn, taking control of the green placard, and they will also activate it with their second action. This card says, draw 3 cards, play 1 card, and discard the other 2. Player 2 chooses to play Serpent's Tongue, taking control of red, and they discard the other 2. Note, anytime you're forced to discard a card, unless otherwise stated, you discard that card from your hand. And that's how you play Spellcaster. The game continues in this manner until there's a winner. In order to win, you must either accumulate 15 sapphires, or drain your opponent of all their energy, or, if you cannot draw a card to begin your turn, the mage with the most sapphires wins. There are also rules for a 3-player game, in which you will set up the game with 2 players on one side of the table and only 1 on the other. This will be a 2-on-1 style game. The team of 2 shares a starting pool of 10 energy and 2 sapphires, adding 2 potions if playing with the potions expansion, and they may use any of the spells facing them. However, they are unable to show each other their hand of cards. The single-player team starts the game with 10 energy and 2 sapphires as normal, as well as 2 potions if using the potion expansion. However, begins the game with a hand of 6 cards rather than 3. The first team mage goes first, followed by the solo player, then the second team mage, again followed by the solo player, and play proceeds in this fashion until the duel ends. For 4 players, this is a team game, with teammates sitting side by side and sharing a starting pool of 10 energy and 2 sapphires, as well as 2 potions if using the potions expansion, but teammates have separate hands of cards that they cannot share with each other. A team member may use any spell facing them as their team control those spells. Play proceeds back and forth from team to team until the duel ends. I hope you've enjoyed this first look at Spellcaster and the Spellcaster Potions expansion. Come back next time as we'll continue our 3-part series with a playthrough, and then in the 3rd video let you know our impressions of this game.
Thank you for joining Roll to Hit Gaming for another First Look, where we go inside the box, through the rules, and onto the table. If you liked what you saw and want to see more, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Find us on Facebook and Twitter, and join us in the conversation in the comments below. We'll see you next time, and as always, never give up, never surrender.